Uh, and I think everyone should be in by now. I think everybody's here, or people are still coming in. Apologies about the late start, guys. We were having some slight technical issues, but I think we're all here now. I am going to allow mic for Jordan as well. Bear with me a second. Cool. Right. Thank you, everyone, for turning up. My name's Can. I am the founder and CTO of Aventis Tech. We are hosting this session on how to make the most out of Microsoft Business in your recruitment agency. Today, joining me on the presentation are Pedro Wall from JCOM, Joanna Oakley from Argyle Stone Consulting, Jordan McDonald from Zenit Group, one of our clients, and Will Wyatt from Ario Healthcare, another one of our clients. So guys, if you want to introduce yourselves, Joanna?
Yeah, so I'm Joanna Oakley and I have been in the recruitment business for 25 years. Previously, the Chief Operating Officer for RGF Staffing in the UK. Now I work with recruitment businesses of all sizes in the UK and internationally, and I help them optimise their business. So looking at how they can improve their processes, whether that's sort of manual processes through the implementation of technology, or any other way that they need to reduce costs and streamline what they're doing to grow. I'm also a customer of Aventis, so I've been working with them, I think, since about the end of Q1, and I've introduced them to some of my customers in the recruitment industry. And I'm also a big fan of some of the 365 products that the team are going to talk to you about today, and have implemented some of the tools and the automation. So yeah, I look forward to speaking with you.
Excellent. Pedro?
Yes, thank you, Can. Good afternoon, team. I hope everyone is doing very, very well. So yes, I'm Pedro Wall, part of the actual Geocom team and modern workplace specialist with Microsoft. So it's coming in, from my perspective, working kind of on the expertise on the modern work kind of stack, anything from including Business Premium, Intune, some of the other different kind of subscriptions, but also Copilot. Those are some of the kind of areas that I start focusing on. So purely from a consultative kind of background, guidance to ensure obviously the likes of partners like kind of Ken and team equipped pretty much with the best tools to elevate kind of performance going forward. Been in the kind of the channel for quite a lot of years now as well, going from vendor, distributor, as well as end user. So done all parts of the channel, but happy to support wherever possible. So yeah, thank you.
Excellent. And Will, Jordan, if you want to give us a quick introduction as well.
Sure. Afternoon, everyone. My name's Will. I'm the Vice President of Ario Healthcare. We're a small healthcare recruitment agency based in New York. We enlisted Can and his team's help to install the Microsoft ecosystem for our business. We have users in both the US and the UK. So we've brought Can in and he's guided us through getting us set up as a small business. We only started trading or incorporating last year in October, so it was critical to get things right from day one, and that's where Can's come in.
And then Jordan. I think you'll need to unmute yourself, unfortunately. Might be having some slight technical difficulties on his side. We might have to have a look into that. However, before we proceed, can everyone see the slides? If you can't see the slides, please raise your hands, and then I will continue on to the next bit. And I'll introduce who I am, because we've not really talked about who we are. Excellent. Okay, so today's agenda is just a quick brief introduction to who Aventis are, what Microsoft 365 is, talk about a bit of the hidden gems, and then move into all the available packages and pricing, as well as, how these tools can help you in your recruitment businesses, and see a few of these in actual action today. We're then going to move into cybersecurity because it's a top and center topic at the moment, particularly after what's happened with Marks and Spencers and Co-op recently. It should be, if it isn't, it should be top of mind. But again, fear not, Microsoft have you covered, and it is part of your packages when you buy it. So we'll talk a bit about that. Then about device management, GDPR, and then going into some real life case studies with Will and Jordan when we get there. Okay. So, who is Aventis Tech? Well, we are an organization that was founded in 2023. I've been within the recruitment industry for about 10 years. Before that, my background is the head of IT manager internally, working with SME recruiters as well as SMEs for about 16 years. I got fed up dealing with MSPs because all they did was cross-sell, upsell, all of that stuff. They didn't really care about what the customers wanted. They cared more about the profits that they were making and the margins. So that said, solutions that were recommended when I was around as a customer didn't always seem to fit the plate. They wouldn't tell us more about what's included in our Microsoft package because obviously they don't make the money there. So I decided to say enough's enough. Let's go out and set up an organization that's dedicated to understanding the customer needs and bringing better service to everyone. Deliver what customers need, not what I need. So there we go. We're now going to move into some of the common challenges that users are faced on a day-to-day basis. So do any of you resonate with any of these things that you see on the screen right now? So, do you need to protect your business from cybersecurity threats? Do you need to be able to work from anywhere in the world? Do you need to keep your personal data secure from people accessing it within the organization? So, for example, divisions between different departments or job roles, and any of the other things that I mentioned on the screen. So, anything that particularly rings a bell, obviously come find me, and we can talk about that as well in detail. So, we're going to move now into the Microsoft 365 investments. Pedro and I are going to talk you through some of these, and there's a lot there that even confuses me on a day-to-day basis because I deal with it almost on a minutely basis, to be honest. But here we go. Microsoft 365 portfolio has a number of different products available, and they're geared at different entities. So, for example, there's the consumer-grade products, which are called for home and small businesses. There are SMB products, which are meant for most recruiters should be using the SMB stack, to be honest. Our preference is Business Premium because of the sheer value it provides a small business, ranging from everything from productivity to security to data storage, you name it, you've got it in that package. You then have the other enterprise packages, frontline and academic packages. I'm not going to touch on any of those today. My focus on this webinar is the SMB range. So if you are a small recruiter, but your MSP has put you on an E3 or E5 package, that you might actually be paying for too many things. So again, something to consider. Right, so next. This is the current latest pricing available from Microsoft 365 on the different product ranges. You have pricing based on monthly and annual subscriptions. The annual subscriptions tie you into 12 months, whereas a monthly subscription is just that. It's a 30-day rolling agreement. As you can see here, the price for Business Premium starts at £17.75 on an annual plan, and boy, does it give you a lot of bang for buck. And I mean, Pedro, do you want to add anything here, or do we wait till we get to the next screen where they can see all of the bells and whistles?
Yeah, I think we wait to the next screen, Can, because I think we can discuss the value of Premium when it comes to it and showcase why it stands as a hero SKU and why you get quite a lot of bang for your buck as well. Let's do it.
Excellent. Okay, so most of you obviously use Microsoft 365. If you don't, well, I don't know who doesn't these days, apart from those Google users. I'm not going to talk to them today. But Microsoft 365 here, makes you think about these apps on the screen. So Outlook, OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, SharePoint, and Teams. Some of you may not even know about SharePoint because it's not as widely used. But most of these should ring a bell. However, in today's meeting, we're just going to talk about the other apps that are available. So things like Planner, like To Do, Forms, etc., but also the security stack that's included in Microsoft Business Premium. I've seen a lot of agencies being put on Business Standard, but unfortunately, I think Business Standard doesn't add enough value. You often coupled with additional antivirus software, additional email security tools, and so on, you end up paying more than you would if you were to go with Business Premium. So, Pedro, any words on this on your side?
Yes, mate, absolutely. So, of course, as you probably know, many folks kind of go into the standards similar to what Can mentioned. Of course, you do get kind of a lot of different applications, productivity tools, which are very kind of useful. But I think Can hit the nail on the head when it comes to other kind of solutions, EDR type solutions, endpoint security solutions that people kind of stack on, just to bolster the standard kind of SKU. In many cases, sometimes can work, but of course, it's all about kind of having a single pane of glass. The ability to have everything kind of controlled in a single place is absolutely brilliant. Everyone's using Microsoft services, so it does actually kind of make sense to use kind of everything in one single area. That's where Premium starts coming extremely useful and really showcases its value, especially when we look at the security kind of stack that kind of gets bolted on with Premium. So you can see right at the bottom part of there where it's kind of circled in that kind of square box even, you've got kind of all the different types of solutions that are available to you for free with Premium. The likes of Intune, that you can come in and start kind of managing different devices, whether that being kind of corporate devices within the actual kind of business that are kind of catered for employees. That can be kind of managed, of course, making sure they've got everything kind of correctly kind of associated. Or they kind of personally kind of bring your own devices to kind of the actual corporation. We all use different types of phones. I definitely do. I pretty much have 2 phones on a daily basis. Of course, in the case of we're traveling, we're constantly kind of going to different places. Sometimes we may not have our work device. How is our kind of own device kind of managed correctly? So that's where Intune comes into kind of practice really quite well, but also information protection. How is the transit information kind of protected as well? Which, of course, in the recruitment industry is huge. You guys are using kind of different CVs. You're going through monitoring, and of course, you're sharing it back and forth. How are they kind of policed to a certain degree and to ensure that data isn't leaked across the main? You've got conditional access policies, so how those are interlinked with MFA. We're going to go into that in a little bit more detail as well. Other things like AVD, a little bit more technical, but the aspect that you can spin up your own virtual desktops. If multiple users are using the same types of applications in a single given area, why not spin up a virtual desktop? And of course, that's completely free as a base license with Premium, which is beautiful. But then, of course, going into Defender for Business and Defender for Office 365, which is the suite of security offerings that adds it to a whole different level. Microsoft come in with an expenditure of over 50 billion of an investment towards the actual Defender for Business. And this is kind of what's enticed within Premium that makes it a huge value for absolutely everyone to kind of come through as well, but also Defender for Office 365, which are the layers that we're going to go through momentarily and showcase why there's huge value in those areas. And very finally, cloud app security, kind of going and ensuring the right apps are kind of designated within each of the actual business. So yeah, that's an overview of the Premium, but we'll get into kind of each of the tangibles shortly as well.
Now, I know most of you are excited to learn more about these apps because these apps add a lot of productivity value to your recruitment business. And some of these obviously have been utilized by our clients. On this call at the moment, we got a shout out to Zdenka as well here on the call. But I'm going to go through these. So on the screen here, we have Forms, which is a SurveyMonkey-like alternative. We've got Bookings, which is a Calendly alternative. We got Planner, which is like a Trello board or a Monday.com alternative. We got Visio for Web Plan 1. You don't actually have to pay for a Visio license to have Visio. It's included within your Business Premium package. We've got Viva Engage, this icon here at the end that looks like a rose or tulip. It's a internal social media network that can use to kind of, talk about praise or talk about upcoming birthdays or whatever it is. And we've had clients implement that internally to do that, just that. Microsoft Lists is a lightweight database tool that you can use internally to do certain tasks. And again, we'll go into that in a bit. I'm going to skip over because I've got some definitions of what these things do here on the screen. Loop is a new tool that's meant to be for collaboration and project work. Again, from a recruitment setting, I'm yet to try and find out the best value for Loop, but definitely the others on this page ring a lot of bells for recruitment. Going forwards, we have things like Clipchamp, which is like a CapCut alternative that you can have for free within your Microsoft stack. We got Stream, which is a video hosting platform like Vimeo, but it's for internal purposes, so maybe training videos and stuff that can be hosted and shared with your staff. And then there's Power Automate. Now, I kept Power Automate to last because it is the thing that bonds all of these other apps together to make something extra special. So Power Automate's a bit like Made.com or IFTTT or Zapier. So what it does is it integrates all these apps and creates powerful process flows. So without any further ado, we're going to go into seeing the the bookings slide. And I'm going to share my screen now. So this is a live demo. So apologize if there are any hiccups in between. I am trying my best. Here we go. So we're going to first start off with how you get to these apps, right? So on your Microsoft 365, to access your portal, you go to portal.office.com, which now Microsoft have put this Copilot window into. So this Copilot is free. You get it as part of every Microsoft 365 subscription from Business Basic upwards. And it's a similar in value to a paid ChatGPT. The difference between using the free ChatGPT and this is that whatever you put into this stays within your corporate environment. So you're not putting data into publicly available monster that someone else can churn out on the other end. So you're not training any models, if that makes sense. So from a data security perspective, if you are currently using the free version of ChatGPT, do give this a try. It is a far safer way if you're using corporate data or GDPR sensitive data. Okay, so on here on the left-hand side of the screen, you have the apps menu. Within the apps menu, you come into your Microsoft apps. By default, these are the most commonly used apps, but you can see all of the other apps by clicking on all apps. Now here, you have a list of all the apps that are available to you with your Microsoft Business Premium. Again, in this presentation, we're not going to go through everything. We are going to go through a select few of these, but there is a lot of stuff there to explore. What we are going to do in the coming weeks and months is we're going to run more targeted sessions on some of these ones that are more valuable to a recruitment base. So let's go into our first app, which in this case is going to be bookings. So to get here, I would have clicked on bookings from here. That loads this page. Now, for the first time when you load this page, oh, I've gone on to the wrong one. Apologies about this. Here we go. So the first time you load this page, you won't have any of these things configured already. So I'm just going to explain to you what these things are. So at the top here, you have personal bookings pages. So everyone's got access to creating their own personal booking. This is similar to having a calendar link put into your email signatures. You can then copy a link to the bookings page that you created, paste it into your signature, and off you go. You can create as many of these bookings pages as you like. They can be of different lengths and styles. They can be either public or private. So I'm going to go through the differences as well in a second. So if you were to create a bookings page, old Fred Flintstone here has created a bookings page called a candidate screening call bookings page. Here we can add categories. So when they come up on your calendar, they show up in a different color. You can set the time. You can set customizations as to when you want to take these bookings. You can put more advanced options like, put buffer times in, lead times, email reminders. So you can have a number of these email reminders to go out depending on when a person books, obviously, and follow-up emails if you wanted to send a follow-up email automatically after the meeting ended, and that's all possible within bookings here. The only thing I find about the personal bookings pages is that you can't really personally brand these. You can customize it to a certain degree by editing your banner image from one of these. Obviously, you'll have your picture turn up in a little circle here, and then anything that's listed as public would display like that. So note here the 60-minute intro session I've put as a private meeting, so therefore you didn't see it in my public bookings page. Down here, you have shared bookings pages or company bookings pages. These are used as service bookings. So for example, if you have panel interviews or you have a service that you offer for free, I don't know, like in our case, a 60-minute consultancy session, but it doesn't have to always be run by one person. It could be one or many people who run it. So here we've created a services page. You can allocate staff who may take this. Services can be listed out here. Again, on the bookings page, you will see those services listed out. For each of these services, you can customize, again, like the durations, the buffer times, the notifications. You get a lot more control with a company page here. Any custom fields or data you want to collect from people. The staff that are assigned, again, there's a difference here between, everyone who needs to attend or is it one or the other that needs to attend? So again, there's a lot of flexibility around what you can do with these things. So if I go back here and click on this should, let me go to the bookings page. So a corporate bookings page would look like this. With the different time slots, I can select a slot and then enter the information I want before I book it. So this is a corporate bookings page. On a personal bookings page, it's slightly different. Again, you can either show them individual bookings by giving them individual link to booking, or you can give them the full link that contains all your bookings that are available to book. Again, then there's the private bookings here that are available on different days. So again, what you do with it is up to you. Right, so that then moves us on to our next item on the list, which is Microsoft Forms. So Microsoft Forms, again, like I said, can be accessed through the Apps Center within your 365. In here, you have access to create forms like you would do with SurveyMonkey. The only limitation that we find with Microsoft Forms is that when you send external forms, you cannot upload any documents or anything that needs uploading cannot be done externally. You can do uploads internally, but not externally. There are workarounds to this using Power Automate. So when a candidate submits a form, you can automatically fire off an email that sends them a upload link to where they can upload any sensitive information. Again, I'll show you a few of those process flows when we get to Power Automate. Again, with bookings as well, you could do the same. So with Power Automate, you can do wonders essentially. So here we've created two different forms. One's a candidate pre-screening form, one's an employee satisfaction survey. So with at the top here, you can have a number of different templates, and there's an entire template gallery that you can choose and create forms from. But again, you can customize and create your own forms should you wish to. Again, if you have Copilot, you can get Copilot to create these, and we'll cover that in our next Copilot session next week. So don't forget to don't miss out on that. Here's a form that we've created for candidate screening form. Again, you can have as many of these questions as you like. These questions can have, so this is the view from a creator perspective. So, you can have different types of questions. These questions can be, what do you call it, choices, texts, ratings, rankings, whatever it is, selections. You can even create, what do you call it, what's known as a branching. So for example, if a candidate or client submits a particular answer, you can branch out to a different question depending on the answer that they provide you. So the possibilities again are endless again. The data gets collected into this really nice responses page where you can view who's responded and how they've responded. You can get these into Excel, but you can also use Power Automate to put them into a Microsoft list, which is where we're going to go next. So Microsoft Lists is a tool that is available to you within Microsoft Stack. You can have data entry forms that are dedicated to those lists. So for example, here, this is a candidate data entry form. Maybe you receive emails from CV Library or from Indeed with CVs. You can then upload them and enter the information into here. You could create your own little database if you don't have your CRM, for example. It could just be something where your CRM doesn't cater for a complicated compliance process. You could create your own compliance workflow within the use of Microsoft Lists. So here, what we've done is basically we've created a Microsoft List that looks like a pimped up version of Excel, where you have different drop downs, etc., for different statuses, and so on. And data entered into here can be entered through a form, or you could just enter them in a grid view like this. So you can just enter it here, or you can add an item and it brings up its own form. So again, there's so many different ways to go about doing this. We've also taken some time to show you a few two tests here. You can see all of the data from a gallery view here. Or you can see all of the data from a, bear with me 1 second, if we go back, a board view. So in the board view, what we've done is we've arranged the candidates that you saw on the list into different categories. And as they move through the different segments of the hiring process, they will move into the different buckets here that you see. So again, all of this can be customized to your liking, filters applied, anything you want to do basically. So you could effectively run a candidate screening, candidate, kind of compliance pipeline through this method. Joanna, I thought I'd reach out to you here for some input on this particular element.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is for all of the things that Can has talked about is you really don't have to be technical to do all this stuff. It really is very, very straightforward. Everything that Can is showing you, I've actually created myself. And I am not an IT, anybody that knows me knows I am not an IT person. It's really straightforward. It's very intuitive. And you do have the flexibility to change the views for what you're looking at and what works best for you. But for smaller agencies that don't have CRMs, that are currently, relying on Excel to capture all of their workflows, their client information, this is a really great way to be able to succinctly see where your candidates are in a process. And as Can mentioned, it doesn't just have to be the candidate screening process or onboarding, it can be compliance. So it really is very configurable and easy to use.
So the other thing we had was on the list is Planner. So Planner is another tool sort of similar to List, but different in a sense as well. Planner is more for project planning, and it can be used for the two processes that we mentioned. So we're just going to bring up a candidate pipeline plan here. So we use it internally, Planner, to kind of work on client onboarding processes, our client pipelines, and so on. So we use this, for example, from a client pipeline perspective to move clients from, perhaps pre-sale stage to converted client to onboarding client and so on. And again, it's so easy. So for example, here you've got David Ray, who works for this company. You could put in information, you can assign it to a person. Again, we've not got this particular thing shared, but if you have multiple people in your organization, it can be shared with them as well. So for example, here, I can share it with, is Wilma here? Yes, Wilma is there, Barney's here. So you can share it with all these people. Again, you can assign these tasks to different people. So Wilma, this particular one's a personal one, so therefore it's not shared. But if you create a shared one within a team, it is shareable. So I will show you one that has all of this allocated. I'm going to show you what we do for our marketing pipeline in a second. But essentially, moving a candidate from one element to another is as simple as drag and drop. You can view this as assigned to, the progress, the due date, so you can see it in a schedule. So perhaps this person is going for a second interview on this stage, you can see all of this in a board view. If it was allocated to people, you can add filters in, maybe on labels that you can use. If you can have as many labels, or not actually many, there's about 20 or 30 labels that you can use, but you can narrow it down by different filters. And again, here, this is a board view of the, not a board view, a list view of all of the stuff that's inside this planner. And again, you can, kind of set priorities for these tasks and so on. So again, what you do is up to you in terms of how you utilize it. We can obviously guide you from time to time about how you best utilize these tools and so on. Okie dokie. Right, so the next tool we're going to show you is Microsoft Power Automate. So where is Power Automate here? Okay, cool. So Power Automate's a powerful tool similar to your IFTTT or Zapier that can be used to create cloud-based flows or flows that are triggered through actions that you take, or even something that you can run by clicking a button. So if you go into this, you can create, again, to get to Power Automate, it's through the app launcher. You get to Power Automate. You are confronted with this screen where they have a number of different automations available. Now, Joanna has, over the last couple of weeks, become a maestro of Power Automate and has been creating all sorts of things for her business and other businesses she works for. So once I've finished with this, she can maybe say a few words about how that works and how she's found that experience. So within a flow, you can create, for example, here, this particular flow takes a candidate through one of the forms that were filled out, takes a CV, puts it into a SharePoint library, creates a folder in the SharePoint against the particular job that you're recruiting for, emails the candidate out as well so that they know that they're progressing through this. And remember, like I said in the list, if you change the statuses, you can have Power Automate flows like this one or this one, for example, that do different things and trigger out emails, trigger out different processes internally, or put people into planner fields and so on. So again, what I say with Power Automate is that what you do with Power Automate is entirely up to you. You can trigger it from any number of different things. For example, here it's triggered by a booking that's created. On this one, it's triggered by a form that's submitted. On this one, it's based on something that's changed within the Microsoft list. So the possibilities are endless. It is only kind of down to your imagination. And of course, with Power Automate, it integrates with a lot of different other connectors as well. So for example, if I go here, you can see that it integrates with so many different other tools out there. It's not just the Microsoft range of products. For example, DocuSigns, you can send a templated DocuSign out to a client based on this. And so on. It integrates with Salesforce, it integrates with HubSpot, and so on and so forth. So again, what you want to do with your organization, if you map it out, people like Joanna can help map out your processes, your flows. Joanna and I are big believers in people, process, technology. You look at your people, you look at your processes before deciding what technology to follow. So again, if you want, just reach out to Joanna on that one. So that's about it from my presentations on the apps. Those were some of the apps that I thought add the most value for a recruitment business, particularly for smaller entities, sub 10 in size or sub 15 in size that don't have complicated systems or are currently relying on a lot of spreadsheets, perhaps manual boards on the wall, and so on. Pedro, I'm going to now start channeling my energy onto cybersecurity and that sort of stuff. So we're going to back to our little presentation here. So bear with me one moment. So cybersecurity, it is by far a very important topic and a topic that a lot of people spread a lot of fear on. And that fear that's being spread isn't really unfounded. There is a lot of stuff going on in the world that creates a lot of mess. And if you haven't configured your Microsoft 365 properly, you might be exposed to these things. People simply think that having Microsoft 365 or having a cloud solution makes you safe, but by default, none of these things are configured properly. But they do come with a lot of tools, so it's like a Swiss Army knife. So here are some stats from 2024 for cybercrime and so on within the UK and how it's affected different types of businesses. Ransomware still is one of the highest forms of security incidents out there. We're going to go into how at Aventis Tech we like to kind of think about security, and a lot of these things here that you're seeing on the screen, this is based on the NIST framework. We implement the CIS controls for our clients, so that to minimize the possible likelihood of them being compromised. 95% of the threats out there can be mitigated by implementing certain controls that are available to you within your Microsoft 365 tenant for free. If your MSP hasn't done that already, please do go and ask them to do this. You have tools like Microsoft Defender, Microsoft Intune, Microsoft Entra ID, and so on that can be used to secure your environments and implement a lot of these identify, protect, detect, respond, recover categories. Now, what does it mean by identify? Identify means knowing what to protect. Protecting is protecting what you know that you have, because you can't protect what you don't know that you have. Detecting is detecting something that's happened to what you're protecting. Responding is, of course, responding to that threat, isolating a device, maybe going out to your customers and notifying them that you've been breached. And recovering is obviously twofold. One of that aspects is covered by Microsoft 365, which is investigations into how did you get breached in the first place through audit logs and stuff that are available within Business Premium. Again, they're not turned on by default. You have to turn them on yourselves. So again, ask your MSPs if you have them. If you haven't got an MSP who's done this for you, reach out to us. So our first whistle stop tour is Microsoft Defender for Business, which is one of my favorite products. We literally cry and scream about it all the time on LinkedIn. If you have seen me talk about it, it is a heavyweight, I guess. It is a Gartner rated product, and Microsoft have a lot of investment, as Pedro alluded to earlier, in this product, and it is available to you as part of your Microsoft 365 Business Premium stack. So Pedro, on to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes. So recruitment agency, right? Kind of how agencies kind of deal with a lot of different things, of course, high volume of sensitive candidate and client data, of course, CV contracts, payroll kind of details, lots of things that you guys are dealing on a daily basis, right? So security features and functionality absolutely kind of dividend. And the most important thing to kind of, prioritize on a daily basis. Now, what we've seen kind of a lot kind of in the past, of course, you've got your traditional AV software. These are areas which could be easily bypassed. But one of the most important things to mention when it comes to cybersecurity is human error. A lot of people forget a lot of things are down to the most simple things. It's our human kind of mannerisms on a daily basis, things that we forget to do, forget to kind of enroll. Next thing you know, we've got a bit of an attack coming through, and it happens, right? How many times you left the oven on and all of a sudden something's overcooked? It happens, right? We've been there, we've done it. And the situation in terms of security is even bigger because, of course, the costs could be tenfold when you have those issues coming through. So traditional AV solutions, when it comes to human error, can't be easily kind of mitigated because, of course, you haven't got the right things kind of associated to be able to kind of assist in that process. You start sweating and things go quite south from that point. The example could be, you send an email to the wrong person with kind of all that data that you've just gone in and you've kind of, ascertained in general. All of a sudden, that's data loss if you haven't got the right tools in measure. Now, when it comes to Defender for Business, how it's so comprehensive, how it's built in, what you're really getting is enterprise-grade security solutions that are pretty much built in within that Microsoft kind of ecosystem. So you're getting a flavor of all these different types of areas which are going to be incredibly useful for you to be able to kind of have that kind of security level going forward. So you've got things like threat and vulnerability management, of course, which is kind of absolutely huge. So continuously scanning your endpoints, laptops, devices for weaknesses, outdated outdated kind of software or misconfigurations. We've got that on an absolute daily basis. As you know, with Microsoft, you probably get about 100 different updates every single month. Lots of changes are coming into effect. So if you haven't got the right kind of updates coming into effect, you're losing out on that security kind of processes as well. So very important to have. And for example, linking back to kind of the likes of a recruitment firm, this means proactively identifying risks before a breach can actually occur, like pretty much protecting both candidate data and client trust. Very, very, very important stuff, especially when there's a lot of kind of personal information that also might be kept. Telephone numbers, email addresses that are associated on CVs, having the kind of the right scans in effect is going to be really, really pivotal in these areas. But things like even attack surface reduction as well. So that we can even emphasize like locking the windows and doors on your digital office, right? That's what we can start to emphasize on as well. But ensuring that approved applications can run correctly, blocking scripts from unknown sources, and of course, preventing risky behaviors like Office macros from launching kind of malware on the actual offset as well. Great example for this. Downloading CV embedded with malicious macro. So of course, having an attack surface reduction tool can essentially block it before it can run as well. So not even getting too technical, but you can see where these things do link very, very, very well as well. You've got next gen protection when it comes to from that perspective. So this is like pretty much like the front door lock that you have. We always love to have a front door lock, double bolt if you can. But of course, it uses kind of like an AI machine to detect and block known and unknown threats, malware, ransomware, phishing, before they can do absolutely any damage, which is absolutely huge. And a nice example for that as well: a recruiter links, clicks into a phishing link disguised as a job application in general. Next gen protection stops the payload from executing as well, so you can start to see where that comes into effect. EDR. Endpoint detection response. You guys might have seen this quite a lot from a lot of different vendors because it's a huge kind of value that comes through, but you get this included with Business Premium as well, which is incredible. So that monitors basically the behavior of devices, detects suspicious activities across the domain, and provides detailed alerts and forensic data. That's going to be really, really kind of important, you know, kind of, and records what happened, when, and how, which is really quite important because you're going to need that from an auditing perspective as well if any issues do occur during kind of process. And a great example, Recruiter laptop starts communicating with a known malicious IP. Obviously, that endpoint detection response then is going to alert your IT team and isolate the device automatically. Really, really, really quite key. And of course, the very final thing, probably the most important thing as well, integration with Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Obviously, being in the recruitment industry, you guys are probably going to be extremely heavy on Outlook and Teams. Obviously, we're on a Teams currently right now. So having the most important types of security layers are going to be incredibly important. Scanning attachments, links, and emails in real time. Yeah, that's kind of that perspective on that, Ken, if you want to go to
so we're going to go into Defend for Office 365, which Pedro obviously mentioned. Again, he mentioned things like safe links, safe attachments, phishing protection, impersonation protection, etc. All of this that's available to you with your Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So coming back to, you know, what I've seen out there in the field, we've got tools like Mimecast, things like Symantec, things like Checkpoint, Barracuda even, that are being sold to you by MSPs. The thing is, you don't really need these tools. And over the last 6 to 12 months, what I have done is I've done tests internally against these tools. So for example, we ran a test recently where we put Microsoft Defender for Business against Checkpoint. And the results were, you know, it didn't do any better. So why would I then pay Checkpoint security for an email security solution? We did it again back in the back end of last year with Mimecast, and again similar results. We ran the test for about a month on environments, and what we found is that Defender for Business does really put that value perspective. But the important thing here is having Microsoft 365 out of the box does not give you the protections unless it is properly configured. And properly configuring it is something that people like us do on a day-to-day basis. But it means that you're not spending money on tools that are obviously covered with your Microsoft license that you're already paying for. And our philosophy here at Aventis Tech is do more with less. And Business Premium is definitely one of those tools that help you. So just a few things about what these things are. Safe links, like Pedro mentioned earlier, if you get a link in an email that could be potentially malicious, Microsoft will identify it as a phishing link or a dodgy link and block it so you don't click on it. Safe attachments, again, if there are viruses or malware or code that is embedded within an attachment that you get, it will block it before it gets to your inbox. Now, there are occasions where it does get to your inbox, and that's when the EDR will step in and take over. So security is a thing like an onion where there's multiple layers of security, like a fortress, if you want to call it, and each layer does its own thing. Impersonation protection, we've heard it all the time. Right, we've got people pretending to be your CEO, pretending to be your finance director, emailing staff internally, asking them to fill out forms or buy cards or whatever it is. Microsoft can block those. And again, there's lots of reporting tools and real-time intelligence that backs all of this up. Pedro, any words to add on this slide?
No, not too much in terms of what you mentioned. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Yeah, these are really important things. And of course, I think it goes back to the traditional model. Of course, if you guys don't have these types of solutions in from other kind of vendors that you have, the traditional model doesn't always kind of support this. So that's why obviously having kind of Microsoft, having all these solutions kind of in a single pane of glass, essentially, is going to be absolutely beautiful. The cool thing is, of course, when it comes to standard and it comes to more of the kind of the premium aspect, yeah, there are some configurations, but there are some things that I always kind of pre-configured in the background anyway. So even straight out of the box, you're going to get some great things that do work, of course, depending on how your tenants are built out. But the beauty of it, you get these tools. These tools are going to be so handy to prevent data from leaking on those kind of emails. You're coming back from holiday, you've got chains of emails all of a sudden that you're trying to go in and sift in. It only takes one click to make one mistake, but obviously having the right tools is going to be extremely beneficial for you guys going forward.
So on that topic, we're going to go on to Intune. And Intune is the device management platform that is built into Microsoft 365 and available with Business Premium. So what does Intune do? Well, Intune helps you manage everything. So it doesn't have to be a Windows device. It can be a Mac, it can be an Android device, it can be an iOS device, and whether it's an iPad or an iPhone. It can help you encrypt the data that's on your devices. It can help you push settings to the devices, block certain apps, allow certain apps, you name it, it can be done. We customize within our environments things for PCs, Macs, Androids, and iOSs on a daily basis for our clients and help them be more protected. But also, it means that things like when you have a new starter, and I'm sure some of our clients here can attest to this, how it's kind of improved their onboarding process in Intune. We've had starters in New York where you provide us with serial numbers and kind of laptops get deployed for them. It could be a corruption on a device that could be reset automatically and everything gets installed again. Jordan, you've had levers and starters all the time, and Sedenka here in the audience probably knows this well as well. So Intune does add a lot of value as a device management platform, but also gives you more control over where your staff are accessing your corporate information from. So you are able to wipe devices if someone leaves and doesn't return the device. If someone leaves it on a train or drops it out of their pocket, you can wipe that device without having access to it. You can block USB access. You can install applications. You can give people access to corporate data on their personal devices with Intune Company Portal or MAM facilities. Again, we will go into more detail about these on a later date. Pedro, any comments to add on to this particular slide?
Yeah, not too much. I think one of the biggest things to emphasize, especially when it comes to recruitment, is onboarding, offboarding. The simplicity of that when it comes to the likes of Intune is huge. The amount of times I've seen devices left on the side, on the shelves, and then it takes just literally one person to pick those devices up and start using them. Obviously, the efficiency of Intune, absolutely huge, and the fact that you can use multiple different operating systems across Windows as well, and so on and so forth, is absolutely huge. So really is kind of very, very efficient, but also interconnects with the likes of conditional access, which I know obviously is the next slide as well, which kind of goes quite nicely, and how that fits really, really quite well with conditional access. So of course, if you're not too aware kind of conditional access, that links in with multi-factor authentication. If you guys don't know what multi-factor authentication is, essentially that's like kind of that PIN that you have to enter in order to kind of enter systems, that dual authentication or re-authentication for things to kind of gain that extra kind of access and strength of the passwords. It's so useful to have an additional kind of application to be able to kind of strengthen that service. And essentially with the likes of conditional access, this works really quite well with the likes of a particular kind of device, with a particular kind of input that you may have. Say you're traveling and you're going, you've just accessed the system. I've just accessed the system right now. All of a sudden, 2-3 minutes later, I'm trying to access it from Germany. Of course, that's going to be a bit of a red flag. Now, the beauty is with premium and conditional access, that's going to immediately flag that for you. And then it's going to immediately kind of prompt MFA as a result. So that's where you get that kind of MFA and authentication that you have to go in as the user to ensure you are the person accessing that data, which is really, really kind of important. So location-based policies are huge when it comes to conditional access, but it's keeping that kind of level of control, preventing unwarranted access in kind of given situations, like kind of going on holidays and whatnot. It happens constantly, especially when we're interconnecting to different places, especially when we're traveling. Having that kind of MFA prompting is kind of increasing that level of security for yourselves as well, which is absolutely important in an everyday kind of basis. And so on and so forth. So that's kind of the most important thing.
Yeah, so I'll add a little bit to this, and kind of our clients know this on a day-to-day basis. Basically, we implement a lot of different conditional access controls to their environments, location-based, as you mentioned. So if they are actually working from outside of their usual location, they'll log a ticket with us to say that they're going abroad, to ensure that they have access when they go abroad. But it also means that, if someone from India or Nigeria or China tries to log into your account, they can't, because they get blocked at the first FM. So it doesn't even prompt them for MFA. So even if your credentials do leak, you are protected from outsiders accessing your environment. You can lock it down to an office space. So if you have an office that has a static IP address, you can block it down to that area as well. So it's not just on region and so on. Session-based controls are also important. So for example, if you're working from your personal device, for example, we can implement policies that allow access that gets destroyed after a certain number of minutes or hours or whatever it is, or even restricted down to the browser. So you have to register your browser, like the Edge browser can be used. Again, that's another big one. I'm a big fan of Edge. 5 years ago, if you ask me, I was a big Chrome fan and a big Firefox fan. But these days, I'm all about Edge, and Edge is beautiful in that sense. It integrates so nicely with all of the Microsoft stack, and it enables us to push out products and services as well as enforce the security across the channel. There are certain things that you can do on top with certain add-ons to Microsoft 365 to enable remote work from personal devices on personal Macs and personal Windows devices. However, that's an additional license capability to add to it, but it works in tandem with conditional access policies. Okay, so moving on to the next bit, which is very important in a recruitment setting, compliance features. Now, I know with Ario Healthcare, their healthcare recruiter, they use these compliance features quite a bit, like sensitivity labels, encrypted emails, and so on and so forth, DLP policies. Again, everything is built into your Microsoft 365 Business Premium package, but just needs to be configured. Pedro, I'm going to go to you first very quickly to kind of give a bit of an overview, if you like, on this section, and then to Vil, who can talk about how they've implemented compliance features within their organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely sure, Ken. So yeah, really, really kind of handy when it comes to the likes of, again, we're going back to kind of personal data that's constantly handled by the recruitment kind of industry as well. So similar to what kind of Cam mentioned, kind of on that, a breach can mean even GDPR kind of violations, reputational damage, and even loss of business. So obviously having the right kind of tools, compliance is going to be absolutely kind of rudimentary to everything you do on a daily basis. So obviously sensitivity labels, label it, lock it down, making sure that you've got the right stuff. I gave the example of coming back from kind of holidays, and you've got kind of, a list of different Ryans kind of in your inbox of kind of folks that you want to kind of bring in for a particular business. And of course, it's just making sure that you're kind of replying to the right one. Obviously, if you're multitask, you've got a lot on your plate. We've all been there. It's making sure you're replying to kind of the right kind of Ryan. There's times when I've even done it before in the past and kind of replied to someone different. And of course, the last thing you want is personal information to be leaked in that sense. So sensitivity labeling is absolutely kind of brilliant, because then you can literally label that kind of document confidential. So of course, in the sense, if I reply to the absolute wrong Ryan in that sense, obviously that Ryan isn't going to be able to kind of access that level of data due to the confidentiality, due to conditional access, which will go back and actually also analyze and making sure that user can access that document. So yeah, the usefulness on that is absolutely important going forward. DLP, data loss prevention, as well. So of course, having that detection, we mentioned this before, you've got kind of spreadsheets, again, personal information kind of logged into that particular one, it gets blocked and obviously flagged to ensure it doesn't get kind of lost as well. Same thing is you're on a train journey, you've got kind of a memory stick that you've got inserted into your laptop. Of course, you for one brief second go to the toilet, go for a little wander, whatever it may be. All of a sudden, anyone can literally try and pick up that drive and try and access it if they don't have the, especially if it isn't protected as much as very well, they can still kind of gain access. But of course, the likes of DLP, it kind of reduces that massively and drastically due to all the policies. So DLP, very useful. You've also got retention policies, keep what you need, remove what you don't. Very, very, very kind of important. Of course, a huge kind of example is what we do have is that CVs are automatically deleted after 12 months unless marked for kind of longer retention, supporting your GDPR kind of data minimalization obligations as well in general. Very, very useful as well. So again, you're kind of saving on that kind of data level, but also not keeping things elongated for too long, especially when the recruitment industry data is kept for quite some time. So ensuring that you've got the right things that you need within that period is very, very, very important as well. But also compliance manager. So on top of everything else, you do get kind of a compliance manager built in, which is really important to kind of understand kind of doing different kind of audits as well across the teams to showcase that you do have. So that's a tool that's built in within the premium stack. Really, really quite useful, but it shows kind of a compliance score. It showcases kind of a bit of a tick through box in terms of how to improve your GDPR kind of readiness as well, which is really useful. And then also interlinks with the likes of audit and e-discovery kind of perspectives as well. The fact that you can search across emails, chats, and files to investigate incidents, really, really quite key, especially if you've got kind of a candidate that asks for kind of, all the data that you hold on to them. You can also use e-discovery to pull those kind of files and reports across Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint, some of the big uses that you guys do on a daily basis. So yeah, all these features are huge from when it comes to compliance and making sure we're keeping up to date as well.
Yeah, they just once again just need to be configured properly in order to use the best make the best out of your investment in it. So Will, over to you. Just a little brief on how you guys utilize compliance features and how we've implemented that for you.
Yeah, certainly. So obviously beyond it's common sense and a good idea, often we work with vendors across the world who require us to meet certain security standards and do certain things in a way to protect data if we're going to become an approved vendor with their organization. So we can, use their framework and compare it to the features that Microsoft have, check with Can, he often gets involved, and we say, yeah, we meet these requirements because we use Microsoft's XYZ, sensitivity labels or whatever. The other thing which is great, in the US, when you onboard healthcare workers, you often have to get medical examinations, drug tests, and blood tests done. Obviously, that's highly sensitive data. It's flying around by email all the time. So we use Microsoft Purview or sensitivity labels to encrypt that data just from our candidates straight to our recruiters, and then if necessary to our clients where we must deliver it. So that gives a peace of mind to everyone involved in that chain when their medical information is flying around. So that meets certain requirements in the US. There is no general data protection law in the US as such yet, not like GDPR. So we always try and go with the strongest, whether that's GDPR, DPA, or the California one. And so Microsoft meets a lot of those key features broadly across the operation.
Yeah, so give an example, I've worked within recruiters for, 10 odd years, and I know particularly in certain regulated sectors, you have requirements to send encrypted emails out, and you may be using email encryption software on top of your Microsoft 365, which, I've seen with recruiters that we've onboarded in the past. But you don't need to. With sensitivity labels, you can have encrypted emails built in to your environment if you're using Microsoft Business Premium. The other thing we spoke about retention policies and stuff is with your Business Premium, and I haven't covered this yet, there are a lot of other features as well. So for example, you get 50 gig mailboxes, but you also get an unlimited online archive, which means you can have up to 1.5 terabytes of data in your archive. So if your mailbox is constantly filling up, that information can be automatically transferred into an online archive that is available to you wherever, whether it's on a mobile device or elsewhere. So yeah, so there's a lot of other bits and bobs that add more value as you go on. We're now going to go into a few other things, just about some of our services we offer to our clients. We offer a governance service that talks about things like security, things like compliance, and so on. Again, I'm not going to go too much into this. None of our webinars are salesy, as you know. We also offer a plethora of different services, whether it's managed IT services, where we help you build your stack out. Whether it's cybersecurity services, so we help you implement things like Defender for Endpoint and all of the other things that you saw today. The only thing that we sell outside of the Microsoft stack, well, actually, two things that we sell are email signature management tools, which Microsoft doesn't do a good job of, and backup software. So we do those as additional things to the traditional Microsoft stack. So if you were thinking about backup and email signature management, Microsoft don't do that at the moment very well. These are credible alternatives that we have in stock. The digital MOT is a service that we offer to our clients, and it's a paid for service. We do a lightweight Microsoft 365 audit for free as well, but that doesn't go into the depth that this does. Sedenka here in the audience, I've unmuted you here. Sedenka's company has gone through with this process with us in the past, identifying all of the, they were with a long-standing MSP in the past and moved on to us about a year now. And we went through the digital MOT initially and then moved them on to the managed services. Sedenka, do you want to make a few words or say a little bit about your experience through the process? You may need to unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. Apologies, there's probably going to be some background noise from my end. So thank you for arranging this, Karen. We have been with Avensis possibly over a year now, I think. It's been quite a journey, I have to say. We have gone from having absolutely no proper IT support to having a non-stop IT support, and obviously gone through a overall inspection of all our environments and everything, and have implemented probably most of what Ken's been talking about here today. And I think we have been really happy with everything. It's still an ongoing journey. We're still adding more things, and putting more things in place. And I think we're really excited about that. So thank you, Ken.
No worries. Thank you, Zdenka. We're now going to go into our first case study of how Microsoft 365 and in particular with Zenith, Jordan McDonald here, again, Zdenka alluded to how these tools have revolutionized the way that they work and how they have different differences in their processes, etc. So Jordan, do you want to talk a little bit about your journey with us and how Microsoft 365 has obviously turned the table for you guys in terms of efficiencies and stuff?
Yes, hello everyone. Just to check, everyone can hear me, right?
Yep.
Cool. Right. Apologies for the hardware issues I was having earlier. I'm here now. Everything's fine. So we started working with Cam probably September September, November, I want to say it was. We are a recruitment company that work with data engineers, hedge funds in the US. It's low frequency, not like medical recruitment, but very high value. Like each deal can be anywhere between 150 to $500,000 on an invoice. So you don't want to be messing around with these candidates, with the processes. Like things can't go wrong because we'll only do about 20 to 30 deals in a year. Before we joined Can and had all the Microsoft, we had nothing. We were just 4 or 5 guys about 5 years ago that were just trying to make everything work on an Excel spreadsheet, the free version of Dropbox, and that's about it. We had nothing else. We had a WhatsApp group chat, no Teams, no SharePoint, nothing. It was horrendous how we got by. Thankfully, Can helped us that when we moved office. We brought him on. He firstly, Aventis actually helped me build the office, which was amazing. Thank you guys. Went beyond for that. But when it comes to actually setting up the processes, it's completely changed the game for us internally. And me as the operations director has made my life a lot easier as well. All the consultants, brilliant consultants, but they don't know how to work any tech. But now everything they can share with each other easily. They're on Teams, they can communicate, SharePoint's there. We're going to start working on the automation stuff that we looked at today, which I'm looking forward to. What else is there? What the main thing for me as well is when it comes to the onboarding. When we have onboarders, new employees now, super simple. Laptop comes in, Can's company's already set everything up. They log in, passwords, it's done. And then from then on, if anything goes wrong, for example, we had an employee have to leave a couple of weeks ago. He had his laptop with him, he didn't come in, and then I just shoot events as a quick text, laptop lockdown, data secure, data's not going anywhere, completely fine. So that was a breath of fresh air. The reason that's a breath of fresh air is because about 3-4 years ago, before we had all of this, one of our employees who, to admit, knew at the end of his career was coming, but we were probably going to get rid of him. He just conveniently lost his laptop. And then I think about maybe a week or two later, all of our new clients that we signed on suddenly started getting approached by our direct competitors. Is that convenience? I don't know. But that is something that would never happen this day, thanks to all the Microsoft features. Apart from that, there's not really much more I can say. It's made life so much easier. Just everything's much safer. Anyone has any issues, it's just a quick ticket to Aventis and it's handled straight away. The fact that these guys can work everything on their own without me personally having to teach them anything just means that it's, to be blunt, idiot proof. So it's made life a lot easier, and I'm very glad that we've done it, and I'm looking forward to checking out all of the new stuff that we've looked at today.
So the main part that's made a big difference to Jordan and his company have been around the Intune stack, the kind of the Microsoft Defender stack, and all of those things putting into play has kind of transformed the way he kind of has onboarders and offboarders, basically. So thank you very much for that review, Jordan. I didn't expect a review. I was talking about more like how Microsoft helped you out as opposed to us, but there we go. We're going to quickly move on to Will and Aria as well. Just, I know you covered a little bit about how we helped you guys because I brought you in. But yeah, similar story to Jordan's, but more of a startup journey in this case.
Yes, thanks, Can. So like I said, we're a startup technically, approaching year 1. We have operations in Midtown Manhattan and in London, with people going back and forth. So we needed a stable, secure way of managing all of this, and Microsoft was the natural choice. We all came from Microsoft companies' prior platforms, so we needed someone to fill the gap between we know what we want and how do we get it, which is Can. So Can took us through detailed implementation. Because we're quite small and we're lean and efficient, we didn't have time to be going and trialing all sorts of different software, like Calendly, trying to install Monday.com. So that takes a lot of effort, a lot of trial, a lot of training. Whereas if it's all in one ecosystem, like the Microsoft one, it makes it a lot easier for integration. So that's kind of what we've landed where we are. We're actively trying to avoid getting things which don't work with Microsoft, or there's not a solution inside Microsoft. Obviously, it's not completely possible, but where we can, we try and keep everything in one place, and that also makes our compliance requirements easier when we are making disclosures to organizations or clients or the government about what systems we use. Obviously, one list of Microsoft stuff is a lot easier than 20 different individual applications. So yeah, we're now at a point where we've got a rollout plan for when we scale and have new starters in new different states. We've got all our data secured within the ecosystem, and we're running pretty smoothly now, I think we've got everything switched on pretty much.
That's it. Again, utilizing all of the products that we've seen today in the pipeline.
Well, I say, sorry, Cam, I just forgot one thing. I used things like Forms, Microsoft Forms or Bookings years ago, and they've come a long way since then. So if you've previously used Bookings a couple of years ago or used Microsoft Forms and you thought, oh God, this is awful, try it again now because they've put a lot of effort into it. Our team had to make a load of compliance booking forms, and we used Copilot to make it. It did it in about 5 minutes, and they've put a load more features and work into it than there was a year or two ago.
Yeah, 100%. And having Copilot obviously supercharges a lot of these things within Microsoft. So a lot of the apps that you saw today, even down to Power Automate, having Copilot within your subscription. I don't know what you saw on the screen when I shared it earlier. You had a Copilot section. So Copilot can then create these Power Automate flows for you. So you just have to describe it. So there's literally nothing stopping you from doing what you imagine you can do. So the only thing that's going to stop you is your imagination. So if you've got a dull imagination like mine, then you're not going to get anywhere. But if you do have an active imagination like Joanna's, you'll get loads of places. Now, I'm going to move on to the Q&A session. So at this point, we are going to let anyone ask any question from us. But also, I'm going to let Joanna lead a bit of the panel discussion here and ask us some hard questions.
Do we have any questions to kick us off, Can?
Do we have any questions to kick us off? Well, that's a good one. Joanna, perhaps from a recruitment perspective, you've been working in the industry for about 25 years now. What do you see, people do wrong more often than not? Or what are the, kind of going back to the first slide or first couple of slides where we said, these are the problems in the current modern workspace. What do you feel from a process and people perspective, recruitment agencies struggle with?
I think overcomplicating things. There are so many options available, and I think two things have happened in the last 12 months. The recruitment market itself has got really tough, and a lot of recruitment agencies are, in some cases struggling to keep afloat. So when you're looking at, when the conversation is all around AI, you've got to get with the program, you've got to keep advancing, and agencies are looking at themselves going, well, hang on a minute, I'm just struggling to keep my people. I don't have the big budgets to spend on all this tech. If you are a small recruitment agency and you have this 365 license, there is so much you can do. Even if you do have a CRM, a lot of what we've talked about today is customer facing, working with your, creating workflows for your clients, creating workflows for your candidates. But actually you can use a lot of these tools as well internally. So thinking about things like employee holiday request forms, you can create forms for that. You can automate that. New starters onboarding forms. How do you request a desk, a mobile phone, a laptop? That can all be done through forms. And not only that, though, but how do you notify your teams that there is a new starter form? Power Automate can help you with that, and it can set a trigger into a to-do list. It can send you a trigger into Teams. If you don't have a formal holiday approval process at the moment for your employees and you're reliant on email, get it on a form, create a trigger that goes into Teams, and now you can accept and approve the holiday in Teams, and it can populate an employee holiday calendar in Planner. So there's some real stuff that you can do. Just because you are a small recruitment agency doesn't mean that you can't have some sophistication in the background to really help your own employees' journey with you to do some of this, what can be, typically admin heavy stuff. So don't be put off. As I say, to answer your question, I think we automatically go to what is out there? What tools do I need to buy? There's a lot of capability that you've probably already got. So really do start looking inside. And as Will said, if you've used some of these systems a couple of years ago, revisit it, because they really have evolved. They've really moved on. They're a lot slicker to use. They're a lot simpler to use. And from a user's perspective, from an engagement perspective, they look much nicer as well.
100%. And again, this comes down to that concept of less is more. Microsoft's whole theme is about, doing more things with less spend. And in the market at the moment, where recruiters are struggling with budgets being slashed by employers worldwide, every penny counts. And if you have the power, if you have the ability within your Microsoft 365 environment, do utilize it. Use your imagination, or come talk to someone like myself or Joanna, and we can help you implement these tools. The other thing around this is, from a security perspective, I know and I've witnessed firsthand the consequences of what happens when so when you have a data breach, for example, or when you have malware infect your organization, the amount of money you're going to lose on a day-to-day basis is going to be far more than what you spend on your business premium licenses and a proper configuration. So I always err on the side of caution by saying you're always better safe than sorry. And with these things properly configured, the likelihood of you getting breached is probably going to be very, very low. And again, the weakest link are your users. And again, user training is an important feature. But having tools like your Defender for Office 365 that catch you when you actually try and click on these links adds to that sophistication, which Amelia, as you're asking, it doesn't cover in tools like Norton, stuff like that. Again, if you are a business, you should be looking at business grade solutions to protect your environments. Don't take risks with these things. You are a recruitment business that needs to be up and running on a day-to-day basis. And having downtime is simply unacceptable, particularly in the environment that we're in at the moment. Any insights there, Joanna, about the current recruitment climate and environment that's going on, and how important it is to kind of scale down on costs and look at kind of streamlining your operations?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot, utilization plays a big thing. It's all very well having lots of technology, but you have to look at how well you're utilizing it. Are you utilizing it in the right way? Because there's a hell of a lot of cost that comes into A, purchasing the product, but B, maintaining it as well. And if people aren't using it, then it just becomes, burdensome from an operational perspective, but again, mainly a cost perspective. So it's absolutely worth revisiting on an ongoing basis what it is that you're trying to achieve, because as your customers' needs evolve, so will your business needs. And what was good for your organization from a tech stack, yesterday or 6 months ago, you need to keep making sure that that you're future-proofing your business and that it's going to be suitable for you for the long term. So absolutely do keep revisiting it, because many clients that I work with, when we start looking at their tech stack, actually find that they've got underutilized licenses, only a handful of people are using certain applications, and the cost actually is just, it's just eroding away. So absolutely making sure that the technology that you have integrates with each other, talks to each other, isn't standalone, and that you are working with your teams to make sure that you have that utilization, so you're getting a real return on investment for that cost.
Cool. Ewan, you had a question that you put in the Q&A section. I see there's a few new ones as well, again from Ewan. I've allowed your mic if you want to talk, sir.
We'll give it a go, see if we have any luck. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. So 2 questions I had. One of them, every solution suite you could pick out there always has some rough edges and points where it doesn't get to. I'm curious, what are the really hard problems that you folks are seeing that are just either really hard or perhaps even not solvable in the Microsoft suite? And I think one example to kind of sort of stage this is, I know password managers, for example, we're still sort of looking externally, so that's like just one example. But yeah, tell me what you're seeing that's tough, because that's often the interesting part where you can maybe end up against a brick wall and need to do something.
Yeah, okay. So I'll take this one initially. Pedro, perhaps you could also chip in on this one from a Microsoft Stack perspective. What we find internally, as you rightly pointed out, password managers, but I think Arrow has just gone and bought their own password manager recently as well. It's something that Microsoft don't currently have in place. They did have a password manager built into your authenticator apps at one point, which is kind of getting phased out this year in August. So that's why I've not really championed that. However, they are working on something in the background, I believe, around the Edge browser and the password manager there to make it more shareable and safe. But there's no set release date at the moment from what I know. The other thing is, when it comes to all of the apps available, for 90% of the things that you would expect to do in a day-to-day recruitment business, I think the Microsoft tools will be sufficient. There are areas, for example, with bookings, for example, where maybe you want to take a payment on something, or maybe you want to do something a bit more jazzy, like kind of branding, like for example I mentioned. While the branding capabilities are sort of limited on bookings, there are better capabilities on the branding side when it comes to Calendly's paid versions. And then again, when it comes down to things like lists and should I say planner, tools like Asana and Monday.com do offer a bit more functionality overall. However, for what we see that recruiters need from a day-to-day basis, I think all of those are kind of taken care of within the planner suite. So again, it really depends on your requirements. We find that, for example, a lot of the time where products and services are pushed on customers, it's usually down to of one of two things. One, perhaps the service provider not knowing the exact capabilities or not investing the time to understand those, or B, because they've seen that they get a bit more profit by pushing a third-party product in there. So there are those things to bear in mind. But from limitations, I think overall, a couple of years ago, when it came to Mac management and stuff like that, and even MDM tools, a lot of recruiters use MDM to kind of manage how they use their mobile phones and so on. Intune was evolving. I think Intune's a much, much better, more comprehensive product these days. So you don't need to use tools like, I don't know, SOTI or the other bits and bobs that are out there. JAMF, for example, for Mac management. You can manage your Macs now within Intune.
Got it. And you touched on sort of the second question I put in there, which is around, I'd almost call it reskinning, but whatever you want to call that sort of interface layer or that branding layer. Are you seeing anything much at all with folks sort of trying to do something there where they decide for whatever reason they just don't quite like or can't quite get what they want out of the UI that exists, but they try and integrate in with sort of Entra ID and sort of the APIs?
I mean, like there was a recent thing about, Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, saying that, all of these other software companies evolved because of Microsoft, right? Microsoft let them use their platforms to develop these tools. And again, you are given these tools like Power Apps and which is again included within your business packages to create tools and stuff that integrate into things like Entra ID. You can create those things however you like. So you can reskin your interfaces and so on, and you can plug it into third-party applications. Again, another thing with the Entra ID suite, you can implement like kind of conditional access controls out to third-party apps that you're utilizing.
Nice. And is and again, I don't want to sort of monopolize this session too much, but is there what is included in like business premium as an example for Entra at a high level? You know, I really need to go and read more. But
Business Premium has Entra ID Plan 1. That probably gives you a lot of the functionality that a standard organization would need, an SME would need. You have further functionality in the Entra ID Plan 2, but again, you're paying an extra £7. A lot of those things we found internally that you can mitigate through conditional access policies. So that, for example, Entra ID Plan 2 gives you things like risk-based scenarios and stuff that perhaps you can do with Plan 1. But again, there's logging features and stuff like that that are part of Entra ID Plan 2 that you could pay extra for. But again, it depends on the need of the organization. So with Microsoft, it's not just about what do you call it, paying for one product. There are so many bolt-ons to this. So they've got a plethora of different apps and things that bolt into the stack that you're seeing. So Microsoft Business Premium can be enhanced further with additional tools.
That's cool. Thanks. That's given me the next Google term to go and read about. Sorry,
yeah.
To go and read about.
GPT it or Gawk it, but you know, sometimes the stuff that comes out of those things have to be taken with a pinch of salt. It's a minefield.
Right? So I'm good.
Cool. Come find me. Okay, excellent. Anyone else got any other questions before we wrap things up? The slides and the recordings will be made available to those who have attended. I see a lot of people have dropped out at this point. I think we put them to sleep with the security stuff, hence why I kept it to last. But I should have put this Q&A session in the middle somehow, because I think we would have gotten a bit more engagement. Any other bits and bobs you guys want to add? Anyone who's remaining? Anyone's got any questions? Please raise your hands, or we will be ending this presentation at 3 o'clock. No? Okay. Pedro, any words? Jordan, Will, Joanna?
Thank you for your ongoing support.
Yep.
Because couldn't do it without you. I'm not the head of IT for a reason. That's you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Excellent. Guys, well, we'll wrap it up. What we'll do is we'll reach out to everyone who's attended today and see if there's anything that they want to kind of look further into. I just wanted to quickly go back on one slide. We have a few more presentations coming up. On the 2nd of July, we got Microsoft 365 apps in Copilot. So you can see how some of these apps that we've discussed today kind of play a role with Copilot and how you can enhance your experience using Copilot. Like Will said, you can knock up a form in a couple of seconds, or you can knock up a planner in a couple of seconds, you know. So there's so many things, and even Power Automate stuff. And then obviously we go into our most exciting adventure, which is the Copilot agents, which really, really takes things to the next level. Without any further ado then, guys, thank you very much to the attendees. Thank you very much to the lovely panel here up here with Will, Pedro, Joanna, and Jordan. And thank you for the clients who've also attended today. Excellent. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone, and have a great week ahead.
Thanks all. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thanks. Bye.